I've mentioned this before in one of the previous videos, how words are very important, and I do believe I said something about, especially when it comes to psychology and psychiatry, if you will. It's very important to define what we mean, and it's not as much defining what we mean as which word we use in which context and why. And one word that's, in a strange way, I've come to really not like, practically detest, is the word stigma. First of all, because of what it infers by definition. A stigma, to stigmatize a person or group of people, if you want to go by that definition, is to identify them as different because of a negative that they have, either stereotype or real. You can stigmatize people with mental illness are stigmatized because they have mental illness, which is a reality. They're not stigmatized out of, that doesn't exist. They're stigmatized out of something which they do have, because that thing is so scary. Anyway, that's why the stigma. But I never really liked the word stigma, because in my mind it comes off, whenever I hear, oh well, it must be hard, and people that are very well, that have great intentions, and they're maybe not as educated and whatever, and they tell me something, oh, having mental illness, depression in your case, must be even harder because of the stigma. And I often am taken aback, because I say, well, yes, of course that's true, but if you keep saying there's a stigma, you're putting a barrier to take it. You're just leaving the stigma there. If you use that word, that's what people will think. So if you say there's a stigma, yes, there's a stigma. You're not replacing the word with some, if you just want to use fairly simple linguistics, put a positive word on it, like politicians do. Politicians do this all the time, right? It's not a, what's the one I really like? They're not, right now, governments are not doing what used to be called government spending or public spending. Now they're giving they're giving stimulus packages. There you go. It's not government spending; it's a stimulus package. Sounds way better. Same fucking thing. So to get back to my point here, there's a stigma of mental illness. How about saying something like, more and more people with mental illness are coming forward. More and more people with mental illness are getting better. There's more and more studies about mental illness and how we can help people with it. There's more and more education about mental illness. And even, I really shouldn't be saying illness, going against my own principles here, mental health. Alright, I caught myself there. But there's more and more education, there's more and more knowledge about mental health. There's more and more people coming out, like this video here, like there's on YouTube. There's a lot of videos that are coming out for people with similar ideas. So instead of saying, oh well, there's a stigma, because that sort of stops the conversation. People will tell me, oh, it must really be hard because there's a stigma. Well, yeah, but now what? Whereas if you say something like, it must be difficult. I mean, I don't want to take away the realities that are there. It's very difficult, okay, and the lack of education, and I strongly believe that there's actually a lack of will. By a lot of people, there's a lack of wanting to educate themselves for whatever reasons. They're scared, they're bored, they're not interested, I don't know, but there is a lack there, which kind of pisses me off, but I'm not going to say it's not there. I'm not going to dwell on it, but I'm not going to say it's not there. But instead of saying, oh, there's a stigma, so let's drop the conversation, let's say something like, yes, it is difficult. It's been very difficult. It still is. I mean, in a general sense, not my personal day-to-day things. Mine are actually a lot better. Things are a lot better. Okay, but mental illness and the promotion of mental health, of recovery, the promotion of recovery is doing a lot better. Don't use the S word. It's there, but if you use it, it'll stick. So let's look at the positives. There is more information out there. How people use it, what they do with it, entirely different. I'm not saying they will do it properly, but there is information out there. So just by saying, there is information there. Things are available for those who have it as much as those who don't and need to educate themselves. So instead of getting stuck on the S word, let's look at the positive and say there is information. Instead of saying there's a stigma, why don't you go get a booklet at a local health center or something? That would be a lot better.